All right, here we are. It is forgiveness. Oh, I know. Who really wants to talk about forgiveness? We're going to talk about the essential steps to what it means, why this is a key to our emotional health and well-being. Next.
Dr. Gregory Jantz is a best-selling author of over 45 books and the founder of the Center A Place of Hope, voted a top 10 center for depression treatment in the U.S. As the pioneer of whole-person care, Dr. Jantz is known as the messenger of hope. Now the nation's expert on anxiety, depression, substance abuse, relationships, trauma, and PTSD, here is Dr. Gregory Jantz.
As a counselor for going on 41 years, there you go, and founder here at the Center A Place of Hope, one of the things that has to be dealt with for everybody, and over the years, we've worked now with thousands of individuals. And it doesn't matter if it's depression, anxiety, addiction, trauma, obsessive compulsive disorder. It does not matter what label or what diagnosis a person has. Everyone on some level who's come through and we've had the privilege of working with has had to deal with the topic of forgiveness. At times it's self-forgiveness. At times a person has kept themselves locked in a cage in prison, put themselves behind bars for something they've done in the past, and they're still punishing themselves. For others, it is that significant abuse or trauma that happened as a child, and it has been carried deep in your body, deep in your soul, and it has affected you in so many adverse ways. Your identity, your significant struggle in relationships, the depression that seems to always linger, the anxiousness that you have that's real when you wake up in the morning and carries with you throughout your day, the sleep disturbances and the nightmares after there's been significant abuse, the post-traumatic stress disorder. This is what we're talking about today. The significance of the importance of understanding and being aware of forgiveness. Okay, let me just say it's a very confusing topic. And if you carry any kind of toxic emotions about somebody that's caused pain in your life, and you really do want to be free of anger because you've carried it for so long, and resentment, you feel so internally poisoned, really the most powerful antidote that we misunderstand over and over and over is that of forgiveness. And what does that mean? Okay, so I'm acknowledging this is a major challenge, major. And when we begin working with the client, it's not the first thing we bring up. Don't bring up forgiveness. Because usually what comes up first is all the hurt, all the resentment, all the pain that was created by somebody or multiple people that has been quietly and secretly carried. And the burden has gotten too heavy to carry. And most of the time we don't even realize that, we don't even think of it. Forgiveness, what is that? That doesn't even seem to apply. What does that mean? Well, I've made some notes for our time together today, and it is just going to go right to the points because this time, your time is valuable, and we want to talk about something that's of help. And so here we go. It's the last thing we usually forget. We do forget it. It's the last thing on our mind when there's been hurt. Forgiveness. It's not natural to think about it. In fact, there's a resistance. If somebody says, "Oh, you just should forgive," there is like, a resistance. And then there is a feeling of, it's impossible. I can't forgive. I cannot forgive. It's impossible. All right. Here's a few misconceptions about forgiveness. Let's start there first. One misconception that keeps us stuck in anger. Another word for anger could be hurt. Keeps us stuck in anger and hurt. Forgiveness is not, a misconception is it's never about letting another person off the hook. It is not this person gets away with everything if I forgive. That's probably the biggest misconception. In fact, as odd as it sounds, the decision to forgive has nothing to do with the offender. Yes, they were abusive, whether emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, whatever form of abuse that resulted in trauma. That's what created it, the pain. But whatever they do or don't do from this point on is not tied to you or your decision to forgive. It is, and we've got to break this down, to forgive does mean simply I'm releasing the pain of resentment. I'm releasing the hurt and the trauma that keeps me stuck and keeps me in pain. I am releasing this because I want to be well. My eyes are not on the offender. My eyes are on me and my wellness. Yes, what was done to me was exceedingly wrong. Should have never happened. But I'm making today a different decision. To no longer carry the pain, to no longer feel like I'm poisoned by bitterness, to no longer have the tendency to be hyper vigilant and easily pick up an offense when somebody says something. I'm no longer going to keep filling myself with other people's toxic poison. That's what we're deciding. That's the decision of forgiveness. And by the way, if it's forgiveness about yourself, it is not a get out of jail free card. Not at all. It doesn't work that way. I'm going to offer some great further suggestions here in our time together towards the end, because I don't want this to be one of those, yeah, I listened to that podcast, but nothing happened. This is a call to action to begin to change a process, a way of thinking, a way of living. This is a call to action. It's just not about saying some words today. So here's the key. I wrote down that forgiving someone is not the same thing as excusing their offense. It's not about excusing their offense. Not at all. It is, we don't excuse the wrong that was done. In fact, we come to a place where we know this is bigger than we are. And from my faith vantage point, God, you have to deal with this. I'm releasing it. I will not do, again, this is my vantage point, I will not do God's job to punish another person. We're reminded that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Well, what does that mean? It means we don't have to get even. We don't have to keep wishing harm on a person. I never have to see them again. I don't have to like them. I don't have to talk to them. But I'm not going to carry around the poison anymore. I'm moving beyond that. So it's a change of thought processes. And today we're just going to begin by entertaining those thought processes, that I can think differently about this. Somebody made a choice that caused you harm and pain. And once that offense has occurred, there is nothing you can do about it. That's a hard one. Once that has occurred, you can't change the other person. You can't reverse the harm. The harm was done. You can try to keep the pain alive. You can dwell on it. You can become consumed by it. It can take you down a road and a fast river of rapids that you are constantly injuring yourself. Unforgiveness will lead to self-destructive behavior in relationships, in addiction, in decisions we make that are self-destructive. Lack of forgiveness clouds our thinking, causes us at times to punish ourselves, not the other person. We also know that unforgiveness has a tendency to keep pain not only alive, but it affects our immune system. There's some really good studies that look at the whole area of emotions and immunity and immune system function. We know that our adrenal glands, that they pump that adrenaline for us, and then they pump something called cortisol. You don't want to have a lot of that. It's the stress chemical that begins to have an adverse effect in your body. And these neurochemicals can affect everything from our blood pressure, our brain function, setting up an inflammation environment. So forgiveness is a key to our physical well-being. It's the way out of that pit. It's the way out of that deep hole. Now, on purpose today, I know if you're a person that you've attended church or you've had an upbringing where forgiveness was a topic that was talked about, but it never really took root, and it still is confusing. So we're not going to go down a religious route with this. Today's time together is really about a practical and purposeful plan, and why, just in a practical way, we can say this is also scriptural or biblical, and it is. But we want to now move over and go, okay, how do I do this? All right, here's a couple other things to think about. It's not a sign of weakness. Forgiveness is a sign of strength. I made the decision to forgive somebody that deeply wounded me. In the early years of the center, I had a person that was trying to really harm me. I did not even understand their motivations. They went to great extent to harm me, and start rumors and things that weren't true, and I didn't know that at the root of this for the other person was a deep-seated jealousy that caused them to do extremely harmful, deceptive behaviors. So maybe you were hurt by a person's jealousy, and then it created kind of if you will, a monster in the other person. Because jealousy and envy, people do extraordinarily unimaginable at times destructive behaviors to try to harm another person. That betrayal. So anytime there's a sense of betrayal, whether it's in a marriage, whether it's in a friendship, and betrayal creates a series of emotions that are so difficult to understand. It's like a big wave hits you, and you can't even put into words what betrayal is. Yeah, it's anger, it's despair, it's up and down emotions. Betrayal is one of the most difficult to put in words and describe, but it's one of the most painful. And the antidote to betrayal is going to be forgiveness. All right, forgiveness is not about reconciliation. Most of the time, we're not even going to the other person. Many times it's not safe, it's not advisable, and it's not good to be in a relationship with that person who has a pattern of abuse. They're toxic. You can't have a healthy relationship with them, so maybe there's a pulling back, but I'm making a decision to forgive. So it's not, don't there is sometimes forgiveness between two people, and there's reconciliation, and there is a deepening relationship, and trust is rebuilt. Yes, that's desirable, but that's really not our initial purpose for forgiveness. It's to cleanse us so that we can see things clearly and that we're not making ourselves sick. So now, I am all for reconciliation, but I just want to say in most of the situations that we work with, it's not about reconciliation. Now, the abuser could have a revelation in their life and seek repentance. That's different. All right. As I'm checking here to make sure I'm really describing what forgiveness isn't, it's not reconciliation as the primary goal. The primary goal is freedom. It's freedom. So look for it right now. Okay, you could spend 15 minutes, grab your journal, grab a notepad, and just start writing for 15 minutes and making a list of all the people that you feel hurt by. That I'm carrying active hurt. It could be back in grade school. All the people that I'm carrying active hurt. And then we will also look at, number 2, am I in relationship with these people that I have hurt by? Do I hold, number 3, unforgiveness with any of these people? If they were listed as they created hurt, you need to ask, is there unforgiveness? When I think about them or the incident, what is the emotion? Hurt? Anger? Resentment? What's the emotion when I think about the person or the offense? I can actually think about the example that I gave and the person now, and it's been so many years. I have mercy is the word that came to mind. Mercy. I feel mercy. There must have been a lot of issues for this person to do the things they did to try to create harm. I'm bigger and stronger of it. I don't know what happened to them. But mercy means I'm going to give them grace now because I have forgiven them. I'm not going to wish harm. I'm not going to be fixated on it. And so this is your checkpoint. Have I become fixated still on these hurts? Can I have empathy for these situations and people? Empathy is like compassion. Sometimes we have this with a parent. We look back and go, wow, I'm 35 years old, and now I look back at my parents, I go, okay, I can see they were doing the best they knew, even though it wasn't that great with some things. I can release them. Now, sometimes people don't do that until they're in their 60s, whatever the age is, but you can look back, see it from a different vantage point, and see it from a point of, okay, I can really forgive them and have grace, mercy. I have some compassion. I didn't realize that my parents were both alcoholics. I didn't understand at the time. See, we can put things in their proper vantage point, the proper viewpoint that allows it to see it, allows us to see it without becoming self-destructive. All right. So can I have empathy? And there's a point where I can even take wounds and be grateful for the growth that came of them. It's also another sign. If I have a heart of gratefulness and gratitude, it's also another sign that I've forgiven. I've moved on. If I have gratitude for the growth, I've probably moved on. All right. And here's another, just a checkpoint. Can I dwell in the present? What's that look like? My focus is in the present, not on the past hurt, not on the past harm. I'm in the present. So these are just some things to consider as we look at action plan. There is numerous studies that show forgiveness and its relationship to depression, forgiveness and relationship to healthy relationships. There are studies that show that if I'm forgiving, I have more optimism, which means I feel hope for my future. If I'm forgiving, I will have healthier relationships. So when I forgive, I acknowledge the offense. I'm deeply aware of the depths of the wound. But I'm also making a choice, which means a decision, that I am releasing that pain. So think in terms, and sometimes it's easier to think in terms of releasing pain versus forgiveness. So I'm releasing the pain. I don't want to be sick anymore. I don't want to carry this wound and this damage around. I don't want to hurt myself or other people anymore. I'm letting go of what the offense did to me. You see, that is forgiveness, and that can be done. I can tell you time and time again, when there's self-forgiveness, when there's forgiveness of others, and sometimes on that list you made, there might be 8 to 10 people. Oh, by the way, just write for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, just pause, because it's not about creating page after page on a legal pad. The most important ones will come up within 15 minutes. And you will know, have I released this? When I think about this offense, what's on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the pain? And you also will know, am I still preoccupied with the offense? Am I preoccupied? Is it in the forefront of my mind? Now, there could be triggers. You see somebody that looks like the abuser, somebody that sounds like the abuser, and there's an initial trigger, but then you adjust and you go, nah, that's not them. So a trigger doesn't mean you haven't forgiven, but if that trigger brings me back to the core of the pain and it's in the forefront of my mind now, and it begins to cloud my thinking and emotions, then I need to revisit releasing and forgiveness. So don't be surprised by triggers. And we know that if we are in relationship with a person that's caused harm, it takes time for trust to be rebuilt or not. And we realize this is not a safe person for me. This is a toxic person. And I need to keep that distance. It's also something I need to learn more about that has called boundaries. That keeps me safer emotionally. Okay. So much on this topic. I have a dear friend who has presented over 10 years, once a month, coming in sharing his powerful forgiveness story. His name is Dean Smith. And Dean has a movie called Live to Forgive. And it's available online. Just go to YouTube, Dean Smith, Live to Forgive. That's the next step in your action plan. How do I forgive somebody that's... I had a lady once who said, I can't even think about it. It was so bad. If I do, I'll lose my mind. And I don't think I'll come back. That's the power of it. So go to Live to Forgive. Watch the movie. It's free. As well as There's a new book, The Forgiveness Factor, written by Dean Smith, just a friend and colleague. It's the next step on our action plan to forgiveness. Again, this is something that every person we work with on some level has to address. So often, though, coming in, a person goes, oh, I didn't realize that all this pain was related to all that abuse that I suffered. I didn't get the significance of that. And we begin to get things in perspective, and we begin to take power back in our life. And now I want to just say there is some types of forgiveness that I think is so big, overwhelming, that for me, it's like it's going to require divine intervention. It's going to require God reaching in and providing healing. And I understand that. For some, they may not believe that. I've just witnessed that people will say, it's bigger than me, I need help. And I have seen that divine intervention when it comes to forgiveness. And to live and walk in forgiveness in our relationships is powerful, peaceful, and importantly, it's purposeful. We'll feel a sense of purpose. It comes out, and we begin to have that gratitude and that empathy and that excitement about our future and that optimism. It is possible. I just want to say it is possible. I've walked it, and my friend Dean Smith, Go to Live to Forgive, has as well. And there is hope.